Welcome to this side event. I'm very happy to see you all of you today. Today, as we get in for this virtual side event on empowering women and youth NGOs for inclusive societies and sustainable global partnerships, organized by the ICYF in collaboration with the McGill University Youth Advisory Delegation from Canada, in the Bahrain, and Islamic Development Bank. We are very delighted to discuss such an important topic as much as we are confronted with the imperative to address very complex youth issues and challenges facing youth NGOs around the world. As an international institution working closely with the 56 member states and many more member organizations, ICYF recognizes the critical importance of empowering youth and youth NGOs and fostering collaboration to drive positive change. Through capacity building programs, leadership initiatives, advocacy campaigns, and mostly cooperation and cooperation. However, we also acknowledge that youth NGOs in the OIC region face numerous challenges in their efforts to create inclusive societies and forge sustainable partnerships. From limited resources and funding constraints to institutional barriers and societal prejudices, youth NGOs often grapple with tough obstacles on their path to make an impact. Besides both major crises like COVID-19 pandemic, the rise of conflicts and wars in the OIC region, and the recent horrific aggression against Gaza, the increasing economic crisis has worsened these challenges and made it difficult for youth and youth NGOs to advance. This further underlines the need for collective actions and much more collaboration. On this regard, as ICF, we are on daily basis looking for new partners to implement projects and execute new approaches in all around the world for the betterment of the youth and their status in the societies. In response to these challenges, ICYF remains committed to partnering with youth NGOs to address their capacity building needs and enhance their resilience by providing trainings, mentorships, and networking opportunities. ICYF aims to empower youth NGOs to navigate the complexities of their operating environments and amplify their voices in the international fora at the OIC and United Nations platforms. Therefore, it's very important at these critical times to adopt strategic partnerships with the governments and international organizations and civil society actors and networks. ICYF seeks to leverage partnerships, resources, and expertise to support youth-led initiatives and support advocacy efforts for youth at all levels. Additionally, in Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, we recognize the transformative potential of collaborative partnerships in driving sustainable development and fostering inclusive societies. By forging alliances with the relevant and similar organizations and stakeholders for youth NGOs to amplify their efforts, leverage collective resources, and advocate for policy improvements that advance the interests of young people. Through platforms such as the side events, we aim to facilitate knowledge exchange, share best practices, and catalyze the collaborative initiatives that contribute to the realization of the SDGs. In our strategy, which has been aligned with the OIC Youth Strategy 2025, we are always seeking the goals for reaching the SDGs. We truly think that one critical aspect of youth participation and shaping the future, particularly related to the upcoming summit of the future later this year, is the global movement growing for Gaza. The atrocities and the military aggression witnessed in Gaza, oppression against the civil people, and targeting the infrastructure under the eyes of the world demand our attention and action as the youth. As a young person and the head of a major youth organization, I must emphasize that the world must listen to the suffering of the Palestinian youth and children living under occupation. The voices of youth around the world demanding peace and future for the Palestinian people must be heard. The response of the youth and youth NGOs around the globe to the situation in Gaza will pose significant challenges to the global peace and security, and the plight of Gaza is reshaping how youth can shape the future of the world. It is important that world leaders acknowledge and respond to the voices, for only then can we truly work towards sustainable development, peace, and security. Gaza serves as a glaring reminder that the aspirations and struggles for youth cannot be ignored in our quest for a better world. To serve the purpose of this event, I would like to leave you with some practical recommendations stemming from ICYF practices. First of all, youth organization can lead very successfully by only prioritizing their targets with the capacity building initiatives that equip young people with the skill, knowledge, and resources needed to drive the SDG implementation effectively. And I guess one of the most priority of all the youth institutions shall be the betterment of the equality in opportunities for all young people. These two targets includes providing training programs, workshops, and mentorship opportunities to empower young leaders to take on the leadership roles and lead positive change in their respective communities. Second, youth organizations can facilitate knowledge-sharing platforms that enable young people to exchange ideas, best practices, and lessons learned in the SDG implementation. We found that youth together can get cultivated their ability to share, learn, and beyond imagination. Third, the youth organizations can lead by promoting peaceful and innovative solutions to address the root cause of the conflict, inequality, and environmental degradation through grassroots actions, advocacy campaigns, and community engagement initiatives. Fourth, youth organizations can drive SDGs implementation by harnessing the power of science and technology for the people's good, by investing in STEM education, research, and innovation, entrepreneurship, most importantly, vocational education. As a 5 point, youth organization can promote connectivity and economic inclusion by advocating for policies and initiatives that bridge the digital divide and empower marginalized communities. ICF has been able to conduct many side events on this issue, and also we are focusing on entrepreneurship, supporting entrepreneurship in all level. By availing myself, I want to invite all of you to our event with UNODO Bahrain in the middle of the May in Bahrain for promoting the entrepreneurship among the youth organization among the young people. And then we will have another entrepreneurial summit in Kazan of Tatarstan, and at the end of this year we will organize an entrepreneurship summit in Baku also. So I think one of the best ways to approach for betterment of the youth in economical terms is promoting and supporting the entrepreneurship in our young communities. By focusing on these 5 key areas, youth organizations can play an effective role in leading the implementation of the SDGs. Last but not least, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all of our speakers and panelists for sharing their insights and expertise with us today. And to our audience, my sincere thanks for your engagement and participation. I seize this moment to reaffirm our commitment to empowering youth and strengthening the capacity of youth NGOs. Together, through collective action and collaboration, hopefully we can overcome the challenges and realize our shared vision of inclusive societies. Thank you very much again for your time and listening for me.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. That was truly insightful. And thank you also for highlighting the plight of the youth in Gaza and how that connects to grassroots advocacy, research, and innovation. Those are important themes that we should consider throughout this conversation. And thank you for introducing them. We will now move to the next portion, which is our panel discussion. And I would like to introduce our panelists before we start. So we have Mr. Ahmed Berté, who leads the NGO and civil society specialist at ISDB, the Islamic Development Bank. Ahmed Berté heads the civil society practice within the Resilience and Climate Action Department at the ISDB. With over 21 years of experience in international development, his journey spans from volunteering to vice presidency in associations of entrepreneurs and international students to serving as a financial advisor in the Canadian International Development Agency. Since 2005, Ahmed has dedicated his efforts to serving ISDB member countries, and his pivotal role has significantly enhanced the bank's strategic and operational support for civil society and vulnerable communities, contributing to their empowerment and resilience. Second, we have Mr. Amir Abu Bakar, who is the National Investment Promotion Expert at the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, Investment and Technology Promotion Office in Bahrain. Amir Hassan Abukar holds a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture Economics from the University of Khartoum in 1987 and an MSc in the Project of Management supported by a DAAD scholarship. He also completed a postgraduate diploma in development planning from the Arab Planning Institute in Kuwait and an advanced program in project management from the German Foundation for International Development in Berlin. Amir has extensive experience, including training with UNIDO in Bahrain and receiving a certificate from MIT USA for entrepreneurship development. He has served as a trainer and an M&E officer for GTZ and an associate professor at the Management Development Center of Sudan, and also a consultant for UNIDO and the Arab International Center for Entrepreneurship and Investment. Amir's contribution include establishing entrepreneurship centers globally and mentoring for international competitions. Next, we have Mr. Usman Diaby, who is the lead youth empowerment specialist at ISDB. Usman Diaby has been the lead empowerment specialist at ISDB's Resilience and Climate Action Department. He spearheads programs fostering digital literacy, entrepreneurship, and civic engagement for young individuals. He has a background in investment banking and fund management, and with that, he brings his expertise in leveraging science and technology for sustainable projects. Usman holds a Master of Science in Finance and a CFA in UK Investment Managing certification. Passionate about social impact, he is committed to a brighter future through empowerment initiatives that he develops. Next, we have Ms. Lubna El Hassouni from Eden Maroc Youth Association, at Mohammed versus University of Rabat, and is also the vice president of the Eden Maroc Youth Association, which is a prominent youth association in Morocco. With a passion for youth activism, Lubna has extensive and essential experiences in empowering young people and advocating for their place in society. She has contributed to international projects and networks focusing on youth empowerment and the SDGs, aiming to unleash their full potential. Lubna also represents Morocco in the Arab-Danish Partnership Program and serves as an executive board member of the OIC Youth Forum. Through her diverse roles, she's committed to driving positive change and fostering opportunities for youth development. Finally, we're introducing Ms. Bella Sullivan, who is the Commission on the Status of Women Head Delegate, UN Communications Officer, and incoming Director of the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation. Bella Sullivan is serving as a UN Communications Officer right now, fostering partnerships with international NGOs and UN member states. Notably, she's played a pivotal role in MIAD's engagement at the 68th Commission of the UN Status of Women, championing youth-centric policies and inclusive SRHR language within Canada's Rapid Response Negotiation Team. Concurrently, Bella is pursuing a Bachelor of Arts in Joint Honours International Development and Gender, Sexuality, Feminist and Social Justice Studies at McGill University. And without further ado, I would like to jump into the questions for the panel. If we could answer them in the order of introductions, so starting with Mr. Berthet. The first question is as follows. How can we establish an effective platform for knowledge exchange and best practices amongst women and youth NGOs? And I'll hand it over to Mr. Berthet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also for the invitation. I'm very glad actually to be part of this event. At the Islamic Development Bank, basically we are striving to equip basically the people to drive the economic and social progress. And the Islamic Development Bank is building on collaborative partnership among basically the communities and the nation, and to foster ethical and sustainable solution. Basically, to give you a highlight of what you would like to have, as part of our feedback and experiences in knowledge and best practices, the best way for us and when we deal with women and youth NGO-led NGOs, is that basically we look at it at the perspective of empowering the local NGOs and CSO in particular. We are using basically on promoting some bottom-up and top-down approaches, and basically some mechanism that enable to share best practices and lesson learned. And this can be done to establishing some working groups, and we are doing that, for example, with MDBs, basically with the multilateral development banks, such as the Asian Development Bank, the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and as well as with the Inter-American Development Bank. Another point of view, basically, when we discuss with those institutions, is to look at how we can promote some platform for sharing of basically experiences and challenges that we are facing, and putting also emphasis on the lesson learned. A second aspect, actually, of the experience we have with all of our MDBs is that we are putting forward the exchange of knowledge, skills, and in particular, the capacities of our, let's say, the beneficiaries. And in that regard, we look at the basically with the organizational and as well as the institutional level capacities. We are sharing also some good and best practices where citizens and civil society and the community engagement can improve the project preparation and also at the level of the implementation. And this is done, of course, with by putting in place some basically partnership with some credible CSO. Another point of our intervention is that we look at, strategically of how we can foster and promote the stakeholder consultation. And we do it at basically at different levels. We have it basically what we call the MCPS, or the Member Country Partnership Strategy, in which we are basically inviting CSO to provide some insight on the opportunities, on the strengths and the challenges, that how we can establish some policy level documents, which is part, for example, of the dialogue that we have with some governments in our member countries to promote and to enhance with the national development priorities. Another level, of course, of this stakeholder consultation is when we are preparing and designing some projects. At the inception of those and the design, the bank is promoting on how we can look at the best perspective when we discuss with the government on our focal points in terms of the executing agency of sectoral projects. At the design, we invite the CSO and the community that are impacted by basically our project to provide and to promote basically with the collective voice that are coming from the ground, how they see the project, how they think the project can basically let's say benefit them, and how we can also promote the compensation in case, for example, they're affected by a project in the climate, let's say, basically with the climate aspect, or when we have some infrastructure-led project. Another also aspect on how we can establish that, at the level of our strategy on the program level, is that we look at how we can map, we can screen and categorize CSO in our member countries, and in particular, the women and youth led. When we look at the SDGs with the 17 clusters that are basically in place, we are having this with the promotion of what I said, before, of this bottom-up and top-down approaches, by putting in place a system where we can invite CSO, for example, to register on platform, and we are able to bring, of course, some categorization, on as well as in terms of criteria that enable us to have a very good, let's say, mapping of what they are doing and the ecosystem in which basically they are working in their communities and also in our member countries. I will give you also 4 other points. Another very important way on how we strategize basically the establishment of effective platform is by building the capacity of selected CSO, because the typology of CSO is very diverse. You have different type of CSO coming from the primary base and regional base to the high level, basically type of CSO. And when we promote, for example, exchange of knowledge, we are putting a transfer of expertise between those who have more, for example, experience. When you deal with, for example, philanthropies or foundation of, for example, INGO, we can put in place like a system where you facilitate the promotion and the exchange of expertise with a local NGO that needs, for example, a much more, let's say, support in terms of their different level of capacity development. Another way as well, which is very important for us, is that we are promoting some transformative projects to support young, for example, refugees and basic education, building with the resilience of to promote, of course, with the job like creation of household, where we have, for example, women-headed basically citizens that we can support through like development projects. Two other points we have, and we are setting also some sustainable and innovative like financing mechanism. For example, the use of the crowdfunding is currently being at our level in MDBs. I know that it is being like it's not new for the citizens and collective action that are at the level of the communities, but for MDBs, the use of crowdfunding and the impact, for example, like philanthropy, is very important on the type of mechanism that we can establish to promote the let's say with the dynamic way that we can let's say have some resource mobilization in some of our institutions, and establishing some best practices is a very good way basically to gain some knowledge on how we can do that. And for example, to give you a very practical example with the UNDP, we have put in place like a platform called Tadamun, in which we are able to have what we call a crowdfunding academy. And that type, for example, of ecosystem and system enable us to bring different type of NGO. Of course, we have to assess them at the beginning, but when we establish this type of framework, it is very easy to promote and to establish this type of platform of knowledge. And finally, a very important point is that by setting some coordination like mechanism between different and diverse actors that are working in the development perspective and as part of the lesson learned is very important. You cannot, for example, deal with only with the CSO or NGO at the local space, or let's say with that are basically empowering or involved at the level of grassroots like communities. It is important to work with government, establishing some linkage with like focal points to bring them with you, to know about what are the issues that they are facing, for example, when they are dealing with CSO or they are dealing with our institutions such as the Islamic Development Bank, but also, of course, what are the strengths that each of our different type of stakeholder can provide in, of course, like bringing some new approaches of basically development that are innovative and transformative. The private sector also is very important for us. For example, now we are looking at how we can bring in social innovators, because they are between private sector and civil society engagement. And for us, because of the new way of looking at how they basically look at the perspective of development from the private sector, the CSR is basically very important for us to bring this type of actors, because we can benefit and we can tap on them. For example, the Bill and Melinda Gates, like foundation is part of a very important program of the bank, the livelihood funds, where we promote education, let's say social sectors intervention, and bringing them at the level, for example, of the stakeholder discussion or the steering committee of program. It's very important to bring basically their voice and best practices. And finally, the donors is a very important point of view, because you have like different donors in some programs, and how you can also like benefit our platforms, for example, of women and youth led NGOs, is to take their consideration into account. And some of the best practices that we have been able to take into consideration is that those type of institutions are looking at how we can promote their visibility. So this is basically how we can establish some effective basically platform. And finally, of course, by using the IT, because it has a very powerful, it is a very, let's say, powerful engine that can enable us, of course, to exchange some knowledge at any time, for example, of on time zone as well. For example, currently we are discussing with basically in different continents, and we're able to bring our expertise on lesson learned within the framework of Fora. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Berthet, and I really appreciate how many points you made and how you wove all the stakeholders together. I think your point, especially on empowering local NGOs and having them work with other stakeholders and figuring out what compensation would be necessary and building capacity was really relevant to our discussion today and a great way to highlight how we establish this platform. And with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to our next panelist, Mr. Abu Bakr, to answer the question with your perspective as UNIDO representative in mind. If you have anything to add to that point, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to speak about our program, EDIP, Enterprise Development and Investment Promotion Program, which is a program started here in Bahrain, 1999. And now this program is prevailing and adopted in about 52 countries around the world. For example, in China, most of the African countries and all the Arab countries extended up to European countries like Italy, Armenia, and also adopted in South American countries like Uruguay. And I already prepared a 5 minutes presentation about our program in Sudan, just to showcase of how our program is helping youth and women in inspiring their dreams and fulfill their dreams in converting their ideas into real business, which contribute to upgrading their social and economic status. So if you allow me to make the presentation, please, can I share the screen?
Yes, let me
Please.
figure out how to do that.
Okay.
I don't know. Are you able to share the screen now?
Let me try it. Can you see the screen?
Wonderful. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Okay, welcome to my presentation on developing a conducive entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem, case study of Sudan, adopting enterprise development and investment promotion program, which, as I mentioned, established by ITBO Bahrain here in 1992. Actually, we are targeting two levels, institutional level, and also the individual or entrepreneurial level. Pertaining to institutional level, our endeavor is developing conducive ecosystem for the startup and growth of entrepreneurs and micro, small, and medium enterprises. By ecosystem, we mean the policy, the finance, the culture, support institutions, human capitals, and market. This is pertaining to the institutional level. With regard to entrepreneurial level, our endeavor and intervention is supporting entrepreneurs converting their dreams and aspiration into existing business startup, especially youth and women. Also providing added value to services to existing micro, small, and medium enterprises attaining sustainable growth and scalability. In addition to that, we try to create linkage and partnership between entrepreneurs, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, E to E, or business to business in Sudan. We are adopting a modality, as I mentioned, which is Enterprise Development and Investment Promotion Program, Bahraini model, which has 3 phases and 6 steps. The first phase is pre-incubation, second phase is incubation, and the third and last phase is post-incubation. What do you mean by pre-incubation? The pre-incubation consists of 3 phases, 3 steps. The first step is preparation and empowerment. By preparation and empowerment, we mean training and upgrading the capabilities of the potential entrepreneurs on how to prepare or how to study the market, how to prepare business plan, how to sharpen their business ideas, and how to manage a small business. Second step is counseling and technology. This is one counseling and technology type. This is one-to-one individual counseling to assist the entrepreneurs and potential entrepreneurs to transfer their business idea into a bankable business plan. Then the second step is to link them with suitable financial institution, whether bank, whether venture capital, or business angel. This is the preparation phase, or we call it the pre-incubation phase. Then the second phase is the in-wall or virtual incubation. Our intervention during this phase is to assist the entrepreneurs make their business sustainable. The third and the last phase is post-incubation. After some time of sustaining, after the entrepreneurs sustain their business, it comes a time that they need to grow their business, either to diversify or expand or export. So there is another intervention in this phase by assisting entrepreneurs into transferring their business and to grow or export or diversify their businesses. This is the modality that we are adopting in 52 countries, and especially in this case, we are adopting this case in Sudan. With respect to the ecosystem, we are working with education institutions. We are in board of we have about 10 universities are part of our program that we are providing technical assistance to these universities. Our interventions with university, first we do appreciation workshop and seminars for the head of universities and education institutions to convince them to inculcate the entrepreneurship and innovation as part of their university education system, as a part of their university curricula. After that, we do training of trainers program to assist the faculty and university professors and to facilitate them to be counselors and trainers so that they can assist their graduates in realizing their business ideas into reality, and also introduce entrepreneurship as a part of the curriculum for the university students. The third step is entrepreneurship development programs for university graduates and introduction of entrepreneurship as part of the university curriculum. This is the modality that we are adopting pertaining to educational institutions. I would like to give you here an example of introduction, our efforts in introducing entrepreneurship and innovation as a part of university system, especially pertaining to University of Khartoum as an example of the 10 universities that we are working with in Sudan. The University of Khartoum established 1902, which is the oldest university in Sudan. And first we start by doing appreciation workshop and linking the university with business sector and financial institutions. After that, we do capacity building program for university faculties and professors to facilitate them to provide training and counseling to assist their graduates in realizing their business idea into real business, and also to introduce entrepreneurship as a part of the curriculum of the university. In addition to that, we assist and provide technical assistance to the university in establishing 3 incubators. The first incubator is known as Agropole or Agri Incubator for faculties of agriculture, faculty of veterinary medicine, and faculty of animal production. Another intervention that we assist Faculty of Engineering in establishing Technopole or Techno Incubator, and this incubator is targeting graduates of Faculty of Engineering, Faculty of Information Technology, and also Faculty of Communication and ICT. Also, we do programs for financial institutions to assist them in providing and establishing non-financial services centers within the financial institutions and bank, because banks are used to provide finance for the entrepreneurs, whether micro entrepreneur, small or medium entrepreneurs, regardless of their capabilities or their literacy, financial literacy. And this is resulted in so many defaults for the bank itself and also for the entrepreneurs. Because if you provide money for the entrepreneur finance without getting sure that he understands how to deal with money, how to identify business idea, how to prepare business plan, and how to manage risk, this will result in so many failures. So our endeavor with the financial institutions in Sudan is providing them the technical assistance to establish non-financial services, so that they provide training and counseling and also assistance in business plan development for their clients before providing them with the finance to mitigate and reduce risk of failure. And in this regard, we provide technical assistance for 2 banks to establish non-financial services, like establishing a non-financial services center hosted in the Bank of Khartoum, which is the oldest bank and the largest bank in Sudan. And this is the inauguration ceremony of the center, which is located in the headquarters of the bank. And also another center established to provide non-financial services for the clients and customers of the Family Bank, which is the largest microfinancial institution in Sudan. It has about 34 branches all over Sudan, while Bank of Khartoum has about 99 branches all over Sudan. So the main task of this non-financial services centers is to provide the entrepreneurs, especially youth and women, with non-financial services, which is training and counseling before providing them with finance to, as I mentioned, to reduce the magnitude and the failure rate. I would like also to give an example of our projects in Sudan, which are adopting the EDIP modality, which is in Kassala state, which is the largest agriculture state in Sudan. The title of the project is Promoting Food Security Through Agribusiness Incubators in Kassala state. And this program is targeting the growers and farmers who produces sesame, which is the cash crop, horticulture, which is and fodder, and also groundnuts. These are the growers. The program is targeting this for type of farmers. Sesame is considered as cash crop. Horticulture is considered as food crop. Fodder is considered as food crop also, and groundnut is also considered as cash crop. The main endeavor and the main target of this program is to assist farmers to increase their productivity and also the quality of their products, so that they could be competitive in the international market. And the first thing that we do, we develop and mobilize the ecosystem in Kassala state. By ecosystem, we mean the line ministries like Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Agriculture, in addition to the banking system, which provides finance like Bank of Sudan, Bank of Khartoum, Family Bank, Agriculture Bank, and also the Agriculture Research Corporation and Kassala University, because Agriculture Research Corporation and Kassala University provide the technical assistance, whether business literacy or technical literacy pertaining to agriculture. Also, we include the farmers associations and Women Association in Kassala State. This is the honeycomb of the ecosystem that we created and we enhanced it in Kassala State so that each and every stakeholder provide the suitable services and the relevant services to agropreneurs. Modalities that we are adopting in Kassala State so that the entrepreneurs, especially females and youth, they apply for the program. There is a short listing of these entrepreneurs depending on their capabilities, entrepreneurial capabilities, and also their ideas. After that, they attend a training program at Kassala University. In this training program, they provided with some modules pertaining to agricultural development and developing their business literacy pertaining to how to identify business idea, how to do market research, how to prepare full-fledged bankable business plan, and how to manage a small business. After attending this training program, they are providing by counseling from the University of Kassala professors on how to prepare the business plan itself. First training and after that counseling to be sure that they did the business plan as up to standard. After that, each and every entrepreneur provide his business plan to entrepreneurship development committee, where this committee, the role of this committee is to appraise the business plan and to identify the business plan that are capable of going to the second stage, which is the financial stage. This is the program which we develop in Kassala stage. In addition to that, during 2020, we assist the government as per request from Ministry of Investment to prepare a national strategy for developing entrepreneurship and innovation program, focusing especially on youth and women, and also to develop a law for small and medium enterprises and entrepreneurship, and also to establish an apex institution to provide non-financial services to entrepreneurs, whether micro, small, or medium entrepreneurs, and also to assist micro entrepreneurs to migrate from micro to small, and to also assist small entrepreneurs to migrate to medium enterprises, and also to assist those who in the medium stage to go for the large and strategic businesses. In addition to that, we provide a full proposal on how to develop a national fund for SME and entrepreneurship, and also how to mobilize resources from international organizations. This is the nutshell our experience in Sudan, and this is the nutshell our program, which we are adopting, as I mentioned, in about 52 countries. First, we work with developing the ecosystem, and the second stage is we are doing the program targeting the entrepreneurs themselves, whether small, medium, or micro entrepreneurs. And also, as I mentioned, we focus in youth and women in all the programs that we are undertaking in all these countries, as I mentioned, 52 countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Abu Bakr. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to request politely that everyone maybe stays to about 5 minutes at the maximum, please, just so we can get to all of our esteemed panelists who are here today and respect the time of our viewers as well. I'm going to take a small pause here because our keynote speaker has arrived. Welcome, Mr. Oliver Wilcox. And I would like to go back to our presentation. Mr. Abu Bakr, if you can stop sharing your screen, I'd like to thank you. Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. If you could just end the screen share, I'll move right on to that. But wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And just quickly to introduce our keynote speaker, we're lucky to be joined here today by the Senior Advisor, Ambassador Oliver Wilcox, Oliver is joining us from the US Department of State in the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs. He is a senior advisor for the Organization of Islamic Affairs and the Arab League at the US Department of State, and previously he has served as the state's director, acting deputy director, and program director for preventing violent extremism, where he led the design and implementation of resilience building and radicalization prevention initiatives and programming. Before state, he worked in various Middle Eastern positions at the US Agency for International Development, and he earned an MA in political science from the University of Virginia, an MA distinction in Arab studies from Georgetown University, and a Bachelor of Arts honors in political science. And Mr. Wilcox, without further ado, you have the floor.
Well, thanks very much, Esme, and it's a pleasure to join everyone. Apologies that technology didn't cooperate in joining the panel at the very top, but I appreciate you sort of rewinding a little bit and integrating me into the panel. So I'm going to just offer a few sort of broad reflections, and I think that there will be time later to find connections between some of the broad points that I'd like to share with some of the more specific case studies or programs that Dr. Amir or Mr. Virt, and I'm sure others will share in a couple of minutes. So my reflections are really about how to take a step back and think about youth engagement and really building youth NGO capacity writ large. And just a second, something that the previous panelist said, we need both top-down and bottom-up approaches. I think often what we see is we see top-down by itself, or we see bottom-up by itself, and we need both, and we need both in a coordinated fashion in a particular country context. The other thing I would say is that we see around the world many programs that are sector specific for youth, and that certainly has a major role to play, but I think we also need to be thinking multi-sectorally and also cross-sectorally when it comes to youth NGO capacity building. And I think that some of the more specific points I'll share now hopefully will illustrate the need for that. I think at the very foundation, and I think that again, the previous speakers have certainly touched on this as they've briefed their own good practices and specific programs, but youth need to participate in NGOs, not just as beneficiaries, right? But they need to be involved in program design, program implementation, monitoring, evaluation, and learning. They need to be involved or engaged in the development of an NGO's strategy, the direction or the strategic direction that it takes, and also the NGO's governance. So we're not just talking about youth here as sort of beneficiaries on the receiving end. This is kind of the traditional development model. And we need to really be integrating youth and empowering them within the organizations to lead the work, think about the work, and to do the work. And in doing all of that, you will build their capacity. It's, as we like to say in the development space, it's learning by doing. So they need roles in NGO capacity building, not just a voice. I think related to all of this, I would like to think this is one of the lessons that we've learned in international development, but I think it varies case to case. Don't build something and think that youth will come, right? It's important that we engage youth from the very beginning. And this is why qualitative assessment, not just the statistics or the economic data of youth unemployment or labor market issues, although that's important, but it's not sufficient. We need to understand youth perspectives, youth needs from the youth themselves on the ground before moving forward. Capacity building has to be sustained. Very often we have one-time activities, we have short-term activities. We're all familiar with the complaints that many donor organizations, governments, and otherwise, have a very short time frame for any of their development projects, and that includes capacity building for youth. So one-time activities are good. They tend to raise expectations, but they don't deliver over a longer term. So these things need to be iterative. There needs to also be an endpoint. They need to be institutionalized. They need to be sustainable. And, one of the things I think, Dr. Amir, you deserve credit for in your project that you outlined is the fact that you have a university as a partner. And hopefully the university is involved in institutionalizing or sustaining the program beyond the life of the program, right? This is what is critical. But again, not all of our youth capacity building programs are designed that way from the beginning. They need to be. Switching gears a little bit, I would say that, and again, this has already been touched on, but I would take a step back and say it's true across the board. Public policy as it regards youth has to be a central focus. So we can support youth entrepreneurship. We can build the civic capacity of youth to engage their local governments. We can do these sector-specific projects, but we have to develop or work with our partners to develop a youth-oriented, youth-friendly, youth-empowering, enabling environment. And, many times governments will develop youth strategies and there's not necessarily an implementation plan or a mechanism by which government agencies, ministries, departments are coordinating together and integrating their work over the long term. And there's also, of course, the usual question of who drives it. Are the youth just involved in the beginning and then they're sort of left behind and then sort of treated again as beneficiaries? Or are they really at the table all the way along through the implementation and to the monitoring and evaluation of the program? The enabling environment has to be gotten right. Very often what we see is we see different forms of, frankly, control. And what we need is we need support. These programs, these policies need to be supportive. And it starts at a strategy level, it goes down to a policy level, and it has to involve the ministries of youth and often sports. They're often together. And it's not just the top decision makers, it's those that are making decisions about resources, making decisions about programs. So we're talking at the mid-level within a ministry or an agency that's in charge of youth. How are they making decisions? How are they consulting youth? So this is not just down at the project level, but we're sort of, embedding youth, if you will. And some countries have done a very interesting experiment where they don't just consult youth sort of informally, but they actually embed youth advisors in their strategy and policy and planning offices, and really involve them in the planning, if not the decision making. So I think those are interesting sort of public policy models that ought to be considered. Let me just close by saying that I think part of all of this is there's always the question of resources. We know this, whether it's donor resources, host government resources, NGOs, private sector, whoever the partners are. And I think at the end of the day, we have to be able to convince decision makers, usually national decision makers, that youth are not a security challenge. They're not a potential threat that has to be pacified. They're not just a looming economic problem because of their numbers and the lack of employment or underemployment, et cetera. But if you make the right decisions, youth have things to bring to the table. They have assets, and doing youth work for our country's future, it's not just a nice thing to have, it's a must-have. And quite frankly, I think the way you do this is you do the kind of work that my colleagues spoke about before, and you have to make sure that the results of this work, so take Dr. Amir, your project in Sudan, make sure that that's briefed widely across national government, not just to the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Take it to the Minister of Interior. Take it to the President's office, right? Because you need to show the results that you're getting. And if you show the results that you're getting to those decision makers on a consistent basis, they will start to think differently about how this is an investment for, not just the future, but the country's prosperity, stability, peace, and security. So that link has to be made. We have a lot of good youth work going on out there around the world, but there's frankly, often sort of coherence, coordination, and a change the narratives type of approach that we need. Youth are not a security problem in and of themselves. It's not just a looming, economic destabilization problem that has to be solved. Youth are a partner, youth are an asset. And if you do this kind of work at scale, if you invest in it, and if you provide them a seat at the table, then it doesn't just benefit them, it benefits the entire country. And above all, it benefits stability, because at the end of the day, many policymakers, decision makers in countries around the world, here and abroad, are responsible for and concerned about stability. And productive youth development and youth NGOs are part of that equation. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Esme. And I would like to give the floor back to you and to one of our next colleagues. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilcox, and I'm sure I can speak for everyone. I saw a lot of nodding heads from our panelists that it was a wonderful keynote address. It tied everything together very well. Particularly, I really enjoyed what you said about learning by doing and the way that youth must be involved at every step of this process as a cross-cutting issue and not a sort of siloed approach. For the remainder of the panel, we're running a little bit low on time, but I really want to make sure that our last three panelists get the chance to speak. So we have Mr. Usman Diaby, Miss Lubna El Hassouni, and Bella Sullivan as well. And I would like to offer you the choice of one of the 3 questions that you would like to answer. These have all been sent to you via email before, but for brevity's sake, what are the current and potential emerging challenges faced by women and youth NGOs in promoting inclusivity and sustainability? How can collaboration amongst youth NGOs be fostered to strengthen their collective impact? And then finally, what initiatives can be developed to maximize the collective impact of women and youth NGOs in their community? And I'll give you about 5 minutes to speak. I'll unmute myself just for the sake of letting everyone have enough time to speak. And hopefully at the end, we'll have more time so that if you want to add anything on, that would be amazing as well. Mr. Diaby, I'll give you the floor if you'd like to start us off. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Esma and Oliver, of course, and the rest of the speakers. I just got a short slide to share, if you don't mind. Would that be okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
There you go.
Okay. There we are. Right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, colleagues. I wouldn't be long, given the time. Actually, it's actually and indeed a deep honor and privilege to be part of this gathering today, representing the Islamic Development Bank and its firm commitment to promoting and strengthening women and youth in our member countries with a precise focus of empowering women and youth. The bank serves 57 member countries, and with over 20% of the population being youth on average, their involvement is essential. And as such, we are here today to present the work of IDB in empowering women and youth NGOs for inclusive society and sustainable partnership. Moving on, I have some data here that I would like to share. In order to set the context, I would like to share a few facts about women empowerment in the member countries. Like I said, we have 57 member countries. All of the IDB member countries are signatories to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is a convention that aims to achieve gender equality by ensuring women's equal access to civil, political, and economic, social, cultural rights. It calls upon all member states to take measures to eliminate discrimination against women in all areas of life, including education, employment, healthcare, civil engagement, and participation. Countries that ratify the convention are legally bound to take concrete steps to discrimination against women and promote gender equality within their borders. All member states have also signed the OIC Plan of Action for the Advancement of Women, which is a framework developed by the OIC to address issues related to gender equality and women in empowerment in the OIC member states. The aim is to promote the social, economic, political, and legal rights of women in OIC member states while considering the cultural and religious context of this society. These are some of the facts. We see that literacy rates remain uneven across member countries. Over 380 million women live on less than 1.9 per day dollars in conflict-affected areas, which are now widening over our member countries. This situation is getting worse, whereby women over 7 times more likely to live in poverty compared to their counterparts in non-conflict zones. Labor force participation rate in member countries is around 43% on average, but according to a recent study conducted by UN Women, particularly in Arab states, that rate is even lower and has remained at around 21% for the decades. Moving on, this some of the slides that we are trying to showcase IDB's effort in terms of the long-standing commitment of the bank, areas of focus, which include supporting mainstreaming and implementing standard operational women's empowerment initiatives. We have some flagship products that we will highlight further down. I promise I wouldn't take longer. And again, we have IDB Women's Empowerment Policy and focuses on mainstreaming IDB projects. These are some of the areas that the bank is working with our youths and women, of course, to mainstream them in areas of education, agriculture, energy, transportation. These are done through our operational-wide projects across our member countries. These are some of the flagship initiatives of the bank implemented on women and youth. We see here a program called BRAVE, which was approved in 2018. We have Women Textiles Initiative in Nigeria. That was an initiative by bank and of course, Microsoft to train women and youth on the use of various science and technological tools. We have C-Trade. Again, this is a collaboration between the bank and the trade conference of the bank in collaboration. This was done in 2019. We have one of the challenges in the areas of women is called obstetric fistula. This is an issue that has been reported in most of our member countries, and we are working to address them through financing and, of course, treatment within those areas. And moving on, we have Women Enterprise and Finance initiatives. So far, 55 million has been invested in these areas through BRAVE, through Women in Sanitation, and of course, empowering women in West Africa. Again, moving forward, these are youth development that the bank has been working on in terms of supporting the youth through developing their capacities, as mentioned by Oliver, and also in different socioeconomic domains and engaging with them in dialogue regarding their needs and priorities within the member countries. Yes, someone is raising their hand or?
Hi, yes, that's me. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to give you a heads up on time.
It's all right.
If you could wrap it up the next 30 seconds,
sure,
that would be wonderful.
This,
Thank you.
Yeah, one few seconds. So yeah, this is the youth program that we have ongoing, youth leadership program, youth enterprises, and of course, partnership with ILO. And these are the long-standing program we have on the Youth Development Forum from 2012 till date. Again, these are some of the policies, sectors that we have on women and youth interventions. Again, some of the report we have gender profile on different countries in order to identify their areas of challenge and what sort of support that the bank would provide. This is the last bit, and this is our informations that are from the bank side that are looking to empower women and youth across. Thank you very much. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Diaby, and thank you for the wonderful presentation. We really appreciate all your contributions and also for keeping it brief. It's much appreciated.
No choice, thank you.
I will hand it over now to our fantastic panelists. Sorry, Ms. Lubna El Hassouni, and I'm really excited to hear from you. Let me know which question you'd like to speak to, and we'll.
El Hassouni.
Yeah, it's El Hassouni, yes.
Apologies, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Esma. So I think I would like to answer the questions about the initiatives that could be implemented towards fostering sustainable development when it comes to youth NGOs and women NGOs. So I would like to start by saying that the OIC Youth Forum accounts representatives of diverse nations and cultures from the OIC region, from Morocco to Indonesia, and women and youth NGOs are leading a lot of interesting initiatives that address the most pressing challenges of our time, from gender equality to access to education, to climate change. And we recognize the pressing need for collaboration and shared learning in our collective pursuit of attaining the 2030 agenda and to attain the sustainable development in these countries. I would like to share the experience of, I'm vice president of a youth organization in my country, in Morocco, and we focus mostly on projects that revolve around the SDGs, but we mostly focus on SDGs which are good health, quality education, gender equality, and economic growth, and also the partnership for the goals. We have established various partnerships with other international organizations, which I think it's very helpful in terms of capacity building for small organizations in developing countries to develop partnerships with countries in advanced economies that have more expertise and can share more knowledge when it comes to and best practices on how to advance the achievements of the SDGs and to build the capacities of the members of these NGOs. We have organized an SDG summer camp in Morocco last year, in which we have gathered young Moroccans from all over the country. So we tried to have like a representation from different regions. Some of them are developed, some of them are still not in very developed situations where they lack, for example, access to education, and they live in rural areas. So we try to include youth from different backgrounds, social and economic backgrounds, and also from different fields, so that we can have all of them benefit from the program. So the program was tailored around 5 days of trainings in which these participants were able to learn more about how to implement the projects that is related to the SDG, from the brainstorming and the first ideas of the project to the implementation and the monitoring of the evaluation of the project. Also, we focused on providing these young people with advocacy tools, how to organize an online campaign related to the SDGs, how to do debates, how to communicate about the SDGs in a very easy way. And by the end of these programs, these participants are now called SDGs ambassadors, and they represent our organization in different regions in Morocco. And we established a TOT model, which is the trainer of trainer model, in which these SDGs ambassadors were able afterwards to go and organize workshops either in their schools, in universities, in their place of work, in order to educate other young people. We even focused on making like a success criteria that these participants should organize workshops for very young, like juniors, for example, in primary school, in high schools, so that people get educated about this early on. And we think it was a very successful experience. And now the next phase would be the phase of implementing an SDG related project that targets the young people of the region and that works with a target group, which are young people and more specifically young people who come from very difficult backgrounds and who come from underprivileged backgrounds, basically. And I think it's very important I can't stress how important what Mr. Oliver has mentioned about the ladder of participation and how youth should be included not only in the projects as participants and as passive recipients, but also as active recipients that will actually afterwards be able to form and to draft initiatives that targets their own needs and have like tailored capacity building programs for them. And it's very important that these young people are also consulted in the process and are also being informed about what the project objectives are and what is the updates about how this project, the impact of this project, and having a sense of ownership over the outcomes of it. So I think there are a lot of things to say about this question. I don't want to take a lot of time, but I also want to maybe add an idea that leveraging social media, especially for young people, is very important now. So leveraging technology and innovation can really enhance the reach of and efficiency of women and youth NGO initiatives, and trying to to include a lot of digital initiatives, platforms for communication and collaboration. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hassani. And I honestly, I cannot echo enough all that you have said, like everything. And I really enjoyed like what you were explaining about the SDG ambassador program that you've established. And it sounds like a really impactful micro example of all of what we've been talking about today and how it ties together to what it matters. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to our final panelist, just to give you enough time. Bella, yeah, take it away.
Thank you, Esme. Today I'm going to discuss the question about the emerging challenges faced by women and youth NGOs. I think it's really important to answer this question because I think it helps us share our challenges, show other organizations that they're not alone, and also create a starting point for making important reforms within our own organizations and also within the international system. I would say one of the first issues is access to funding, like many others. Women and youth NGOs, we often struggle to secure sustainable funding streams to support our initiatives and projects. And limited access to financial resources inhibits our ability to scale up our activities, reach more communities, and effectively address the multifaceted challenges faced by women and youth. And also, securing funding often requires navigating complex and lengthy application processes, which can be very challenging for smaller or grassroots organizations lacking our administrative capacity or networks to compete for these grants. Because if you're an entirely youth-led organization like MyAd, we're not just advocates, we're also full-time students, have multiple jobs. Our capacity is very limited. A second issue we have is limit to access to governments. Women and youth, we often face barriers to be taken seriously during negotiations for important UN commissions. Despite our expertise and our firsthand knowledge of issues affecting women and youth, we do encounter skepticism or dismissiveness in decision makers. Or if they do want to meet with us, sometimes they think it's cute that young people want to get involved and the conversation ends there. Overcoming these limits requires strategies, something that we're trying to actively work on, and it's not perfect, but to enhance our visibility and our credibility. And this includes building alliances with other stakeholders and leveraging our data and our research to support our arguments. One of the last challenges I want to highlight is the issue of spreading generational knowledge. Youth NGOs, we grapple with the challenge of preserving and transferring generational knowledge and experiences within our own organizations. And this is because we have a rapid turnover of staff and volunteers. This results in a loss of institutional memory and the continuity of our advocacy efforts. So I know personally, like, we need more mechanisms in youth organizations for this intergenerational dialogue, something that we're having today, and mentorship that can help bridge the gap between seasoned activists and emerging leaders, ensuring a transfer of knowledge and strategies for effective advocacy and advocism, not just in the short term, but in the long term as well. Something to highlight of something that hopefully will help combat these challenges. And I'd love to hear more ideas if anyone wants to jump in. But one thing MyAd would really be interested in spearheading next year is a youth working group for negotiations that will send to various governments. So for example, I'm currently in Canada and I want to collaborate with different youth NGOs. So before there is a zero draft or a draft of the agreed conclusions at the United Nations, collaborate with other youth-led NGOs to see what are their priorities and what are their demands and justifications prior to negotiations. This makes me really excited for two reasons, but because inviting other youth organizations to collaborate with us, we have more diverse opinions and experiences that are actively participating in this important discussion. And second, our collective impact will be greater. Instead of MyAd sending our recommendation, it's MyAd plus 20 other organizations fighting for this progressive language. And I think it puts more pressure on governments and intergovernmental organizations to put it in their face of, this is what we need, this is our lived experiences, and this is what we demand. And I think that's more powerful than working in silos. So those are kind of the main things I would like to highlight today. And I'm happy to pass it back to you, Esme.
Thank you so much, Bella, and thanks for tying everything together again. I think our themes of collaboration, fostering collaboration generationally have really come out in this panel. And I really appreciate everyone's unique perspectives from different NGO sectors and different fields in general to see how we're all sort of fighting the same fight, and we're all collaborating and working together towards a very similar goal in very different ways. Thank you again, all of our wonderful panelists, and thank you so much to our wonderful audience for being here today. Apologies that we didn't get to the Q&A from the audience part, but I hope that you enjoyed the discussion that our panelists had nonetheless, and I really enjoyed how interactive everything was as well between panelists. I think we're technically out of time. Here are the contact informations for the various organizations that have been present today paneling. And if you would like to stick around and potentially chat a little bit more with our panelists, if our panelists would be able to stay for a bit longer, yeah, we could probably take 1 or 2 questions from the audience over time. But thank you so much. And for anyone who has to leave, no problem at all. Thank you so much for your time all today. And I hope everyone in the time zones get some much needed rest. I know some of you are very late, and I hope you can get some sleep as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esma, for this wonderful moderating. Can you hear me? Yes, okay. I don't know, I can't hear myself, but okay. Yes, I would like to say thank you to all of you. It was a great, relevant, informing, effective. I cannot say more about this wonderful panel. Thanks to each and every one of you. And this is just starting to discuss this great topic. All of you, our partners, our speakers, our great moderator from ICYF, and on behalf of all the partners, thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. All the best.
Anybody wants to say something before we leave?
So, Fadila, I'd like to thank you and Taha and Usman and everyone for the great presentations and the very substantive presentations.